The group stage of the World Cup has come to a close. It's time to go through all of the final games. First up, Czechia 0, Mexico 3. Honestly, both teams' attack were an absolute mess in the first half, but I think Czechia, starting out, were the more likely team to score. But honestly, as soon as that first Mexico goal went in the second half, the crowd just would not allow Mexico to lose this game. And that's really when the floodgates started to open. Czechia started to see their demise at this World Cup. They started to get lazy on defense, kind of like amoeba, blob-like defense. It was nice to see Ochoa make an appearance, though. Next up, South Africa 1, South Korea 0. Both teams had their chances in this game to score, but honestly, both teams really poor in the final third. I was really disappointed with South Korea, but fair play to South Africa because that counterattack goal was some of the best football I have seen from South Africa this entire tournament. And then, in the end, they're deserving to go through. Korea tried to push for a late equalizer, but the quality of chances were not enough. Here is how Group A ended up. Mexico first, South Africa second. They both move on to the knockout rounds. Korea in third. At the end, I will see which third-place teams actually ended up making it. Group B now, Bosnia versus Qatar. 3-1. Really, just Qatar made Bosnia look so good in this game. And I think at the end of the day, Qatar were just happy to be at the World Cup. Fantastic first goal, though, for Bosnia. That's really the biggest one I got to go with. The own goal for Qatar was a bit silly, I'll be honest. That was really this whole game. Qatar just made Bosnia look good. And Switzerland 2, Canada 1. This one decided who was top of the group, and Switzerland come away with the dub. Canada clearly missing Kone in the midfield. Manzambi, my goodness. This guy is a true shadow striker. I don't see a lot of them the way that modern football is played. He reminds me a lot of Bellingham, actually, the way he's playing. But him and Vargas, man, they have a connection, bro. They're both legit players. Canada's goal was really, really nice, and they're actually unlucky not to get an equalizer late on in this game. Because the Swiss, I think they let off the gas pedal a little bit too quickly. And Canada really got into the game at the end, but it just wasn't enough. Here's how Group B ended up. Switzerland on top with Canada in second place, Bosnia in third, Qatar eliminated. Now Morocco 4, Haiti 2. And the goals galore in this one. Shout out to the Haitian fans in Atlanta because, man, they made that crowd incredible. And even though they conceded 4, I thought the Haitian goalkeeper was fantastic. And to be honest, I think Isidore has the goal of the tournament so far for Haiti. So happy for them because that kind of goal is going to be remembered forever in Haiti. But at the end of the day, Morocco, just a pragmatic victory. Hakimi, unplayable in my opinion. So good. And honestly, this game really had the feeling that Morocco had the mindset that they were going to make a deep run in this World Cup. That's just what I was getting watching this game. The other game in Group C, Scotland 0, Brazil 3. Honestly, Scotland just could not handle the Brazil press. Scotland's biggest threat was Kieran Tierney after he came on as a substitute. And even that was lackluster. This combo of Vinicius and Ryan up top for Brazil, absolutely incredible. They're really lucky they have somebody like Ryan to fill the shoes of Rafinha after he goes down injured. And overall, Brazil, they've proved me wrong so far because this is how Group C is looking. Brazil end up winning the group on goal difference. Morocco second, Scotland in third. You'll see how Scotland ended up later in the video. Group D, Paraguay, Australia. Not much to say in this one. Not much to say in this one. Both teams very happy with a draw. Australia looked like the more likely team to score, I guess. To be honest, Australia, their right-hand side crosses, that was the biggest threat. And then Enciso for Paraguay really carried the attack for them. But that's pretty much it in this game. Now, the other game in Group D didn't really have any consequence. USA already won the group. Turkey already eliminated. And yes, I say Turkey because they beat us. Okay, I'm going to call them Turkey again. They deserve it because that game was fantastic from Turkey. All their stars firing. Arda Güler, Yilmaz, everybody scoring goals. Now, I'll say the caveat here is, of course, that the U.S. played their B team. Okay, that's just the plain truth. But really, where was this Turkey earlier on in the tournament, man? If this Turkey showed up against Paraguay or Australia, this Turkey team is getting to the knockout stage, no doubt. As for the United States, we looked a lot better once Pulisic came on. I thought our set pieces looked pretty good. And I think the reason why we gave up that late goal was when McKennie came off, the midfield started to break down. We started to lose our edge. We stopped fighting for possession as much, and that's what I think broke us down in the end. This is how Group D ended up. USA on 6 points, Australia and Paraguay through to the knockout stages on 4 points. Turkey eliminated. All right, on to Group E. Curacao 0, Ivory Coast 2. I mean, my goodness, Nicolas Pepe looking like he did in 2019 at Lille. Fantastic match from him. And I think this is such a convincing, dominant win for a team I think could have some upsets in them. Moving on, Ecuador 2, Germany 1. Man, the drama in this one was legit. Starting it off in the second minute, Germany end up scoring. I mean, you can see it. You can see it in the picture I got right here. Ecuador player clearly fouled, kicked right in the face, leads directly to the Sane goal. That goal should never be allowed, okay? Plain and simple. That goal should not stand. Ecuador should have won this game 2-0. And in the end, Ecuador's midfield and defense absolutely elite. Moses Caicedo dominated the midfield for Ecuador. But really, I kind of have to question Nagelsmann a little bit here, because as a top team facing against another team that you could potentially see later on in the knockout stages, why not play your full 11 now? Eliminate this team. Treat this like a knockout stage. Be ruthless. Okay, if you see Ecuador again in the knockout stages and lose to them, you have only yourselves to blame, because Ecuador were there for the taking. If you beat them now, they're gone. Group E, this is how it ended up. Germany and Cote d'Ivoire tied on 6. Ecuador just squeezed into the knockout stage on 4 points. All right, Group F, Japan 1, Sweden 1. Both teams super happy for a draw, honestly, and great goals on either side. I will say, though, Suzuki probably should be seeing that Elanga long-range shot a little bit earlier, maybe making that save. But honestly, I think Japan are really going to cause teams problems. Because of how organized Japan are, I think they could seriously cause some problems for these upper tier teams. Next up in Group F, Tunisia 1, Netherlands 3. Not too much to say here. Dutch dominant victory. Only thing I will say is that there seems to be a consistent weakness when it comes to conceding set-piece goals for the Netherlands. Another one here conceded against Tunisia of all teams. But other than that, Dutch looked pretty good. And to be honest, if they had their shooting boots on, it probably would have been 5 or 6-1. Here's how Group F ended up. Netherlands in first, Japan in second, Sweden making it through to the knockout stages. Tunisia failed to get a single point. On to Group G. Not too much drama in this one. Egypt 1, Iran 1. At the time, both teams quite happy for a draw, okay? Iran looking at 3 points with a 0 goal difference. They looked okay. They looked good. Of course, hindsight is 20/20. And they probably should have gone for this one a little bit more. The other game in Group G, New Zealand 1, Belgium 5. Belgium's midfield absolutely ran the show. I thought De Bruyne was absolutely fantastic, and New Zealand just did not have enough possession to really exploit using Chris Wood as a serious weapon against this Belgium backline, because I think if they could have done that more, that is a clear and obvious weakness that Belgium have. Here's how Group G is looking. Belgium leapfrog Iran and Egypt to get first in the group. Egypt on 5 also make it through, and Iran only 3 points. We'll take a look at them again a little bit later. Group H, another group where, not too much going on, okay? Cape Verde 0, Saudi Arabia 0. Honestly, Cape Verde looked the better team, to be honest with you. Quite uneventful. Cape Verde, all they needed was the draw, and they were through. And the other game in Group H, Spain 1, Uruguay 0. Uruguay had absolutely no urgency in this game, and I was extremely disappointed in them, because if they lose this game, they're out. 2 points, that's not good enough for a third-place team. It just isn't. And I mean, the Spain goal was extremely lucky. Muslera should make that save 100 times out of 100. But at the end of the day, the only person I can turn to on this Uruguay team is Marcelo Bielsa. I'll be honest, I was looking at this Uruguay team before the tournament with these rose-tinted glasses with Marcelo Bielsa as the coach, just because I have a real soft spot for him. But after this tournament, I really got to look at Marcelo Bielsa a little bit differently. Will he continue to coach professional football? That remains to be seen. Whether that's stay at Uruguay or move on, I will definitely have my expectations a little bit tempered when it comes to Marcelo Bielsa. Here is how Group H ended up. 7 points for Spain, and Cape Verde gets second place with only 3 points. With 3 draws, Cape Verde gets second and get through to the knockout rounds. Absolutely crazy stuff. Cinderella story for Cape Verde. Now, Group I, Norway 1, France 4. Again, Norway played the B team in this one, but France, I mean, you got to play who's in front of you, right? Dembele with a first half hat trick. the first of his career. Now, many people were criticizing the Norway coach, saying that they should just play their full 11. But in this case, against a team like France, if you go for it and then end up losing anyway, you'd have actually less time to rest. I think it would only be 3 days rest, and you'd have to travel. So I could understand this one a little bit more than others. On the other side of the coin, Senegal 5, Iraq 0. Iraq just could not handle the Senegal midfield. And this game just kind of proves that Senegal were really unlucky to be in a group with Norway and France, because this team's legit, bro. Look out for them in the knockout stage. This is how the group ended up. France win all 3 games, get 9 points. Norway with 6. Senegal in 3rd place with a positive goal difference. That's huge. We'll get to that. All right. It's time for the game of the tournament, because it's Algeria 3, Austria 3. This game was crazy. This game was absolutely insane. But if you only watched 90 minutes, then you would say this was super boring. Because as soon as Algeria scored to make it 2-2, at the 60th minute, both teams just decided, you know what, we're good for a draw. Both of us would end up on 4 points. We're chilling, okay? We're just going to pass around the back, shake hands at the end of the day. Algeria had other ideas, all right? 93rd minute, out of nowhere, 3 passes, boom, boom, boom. Mahrez back of the net, crazy stuff. Algeria 3, Austria 2. They're through, and Austria are out with 3 points. It's not good enough. And then right off the kickoff, Austria come back and equalize 3-3. They both will end up on 4 points. They both make it through the knockout stages. By far the most dramatic finish to a game so far in the World Cup. On the other side of Group J, Jordan 1, Argentina 3. This was really an Argentina clean and tidy win. I thought it was going to be a little bit tougher, to be honest, but they made it look so easy. Argentina, they rotated players. They had Nico Pass start his first match, where I thought he looked fantastic. And Messi came off the bench and scored a free kick. I mean, what else could you want for Argentina? Here's how Group J ended up. Argentina on top. Austria and Algeria tied at 4. They both go through. Jordan failed to get a single point. All right, Group K. Talk about a disappointing game. My goodness, I thought I had such high expectations for this one. Colombia 0, Portugal 0. And honestly, all I got to say, neither of these teams had any urgency at all. It's almost like they just kind of had this game for granted. I was really expecting one of the teams to come out and try to get the win, to really push for first place in this group. Honestly, really disappointed by both teams in the end. Now, on the other side of the coin, Congo 3, Uzbekistan 1. Amazing comeback from Congo. And it is yet another African team that makes it into the knockout stage in this World Cup. I'm pretty sure that's 9 African teams in the knockout stage. Obviously, it's an expanded knockout stage, so that's probably going to be the most ever. But still, these African teams, they're surprising people. Okay, the upsets are coming. Hey, we'll take a look at who they play in the first round, because Congo is not going to be a walk in the park for anyone. This is how Group K ended up. Colombia winning it with 7, Portugal with 5, and then Congo make it through to the knockout stage on 4 points in 3rd place. Last but not least, Group L. First up, Croatia 2, Ghana 1. Suchic's goal, fantastic. And I thought Modric was absolutely incredible. He becomes the oldest player in World Cup history to get an assist. And Ghana end up scoring that set-piece goal, but honestly, outside of set pieces, they really didn't offer too much on the attack. I think their minds were already kind of ahead to their knockout stage game, because they were already qualified going into this game. Now, Panama 0, England 2. I'll be honest, through 60 minutes of this game, I thought this was going to end up like the Ghana game, where it was just 0-0, absolute stalemate for England again. But Bellingham was the spark that England needed, man. First a goal for Bellingham, then a fantastic assist to set up Kane. And I think Panama ends up being the only team to not score in the group stage. The big thing I was thinking about for England was that these lineup decisions really caught me off guard, okay? I know that Reece James is now injured for the rest of the tournament. I believe it's with another hamstring injury. Here's how Group L ended up. England top the group with 7 points. Croatia jump above Ghana to get 2nd, and Ghana are through to the knockout stage in 3rd place. All right, y'all. I was editing the video and realized I did not actually record the 3rd place teams that got into the knockout stage. So here we go. And the reason why I'm a floating head, look, it's too hot in this room. I'm not putting a shirt on, okay? Look at that, bro. It's Congo up top. That's crazy, with Sweden, Ghana, Ecuador just get in, Bosnia with 4 points, and Algeria, Paraguay, Senegal just squeak in. Now, the big thing I got to mention over here, I flipped myself so I'm looking the other way. This right here, where my head's at, is the cutoff point, and that's 3 points with a +2 goal differential. You know how tough that is to do? That means you win one of the games and lose the other two while maintaining a positive goal difference. So tough. All of the other third place teams that made it through are on 4 points. That's crazy. This World Cup had the most teams, the most groups, and also the most amount of third place teams progressing to the knockout rounds. But arguably, you could say this is the most competitive group stage we have ever seen. All right, before we take a look at the bracket, here's the team of the week for week 3. I got Maignan in goal with Boss from Australia, with Hakimi, Van Hecke, and Sensi for Argentina. I thought all of those guys were really fantastic. In the midfield, Caicedo, Pop Gay for Senegal. I'm telling you, he's going to get a big move this summer. I'm telling you, keep an eye out for him. Jude Bellingham, also fantastic. Riyad Mahrez, Nicolas Pepe, and Ousmane Dembele up top. All right, this video is long enough as it is, but I got to take a look at the bracket. Germany, Paraguay, France will play Sweden. That's not easy. South Africa plays Canada. Netherlands, Morocco, I think is going to be the biggest game out of this round of 32. Portugal, Croatia, though, hey, don't sleep on that one. Spain versus Austria, that's going to be a fantastic game. The U.S. will play Bosnia. And Belgium will play Senegal. Oh my gosh, man, this is not going to be an easy one to predict. On the other side of the bracket, Brazil, Japan. Keep an eye out for Japan, bro. Oh my gosh, a lot of dark horses here. Cote d'Ivoire, Norway. Mexico versus Ecuador. I think that's going to be in Mexico City, too. Wow, that's a good game. England versus Congo. I don't think that's going to be quite the pushover a lot of people think it is. And then the last little quadrant here is just the Argentina quadrant. We got Argentina versus Cape Verde. Oh, my gosh. And then Australia versus Egypt. Switzerland versus Algeria. Colombia versus Ghana. You got to think Argentina is going to make it out of that. There you go, group stage in the books. Let me know who your breakout player is so far. I think I'm going to make a video on breakout players so far in the World Cup. Let me know some teams that have surprised you. Obviously, Cape Verde comes to mind. Next up is the round of 32. We will be there.